Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Vitality Secret podcast. I am delighted to be here with my guest today, Kurtis Lee Thomas. Now, Kurtis Lee Thomas is a corporate mindfulness trainer and a #1 best-selling author of The World Is Yours, The Secrets Behind the Secret. The book has been seen in the hands of mega influencers like Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, Steve Forbes, and Kayne West. Kurtis is the founder of Breathwork Detox and just released his new book titled How to Thrive in the Age of Anxiety. Welcome, Kurtis. So good to have you here.
Neil, thank you so much for having me, man. I'm really excited. I'm sure we got a lot to talk about.
Absolutely. And excited to dive into this. So Kurtis and I met I think a couple of years ago, and I attended one of his breathwork sessions in Santa Monica in Los Angeles. And it was an incredible transformational experience, put it that way. And I'd love to just really interview Kurtis on why he's doing this. And I'm going to talk to you, Kurtis. The reason I want to bring you on this is because I want to share or ask you to share with the world, with our listeners, why breathwork is so powerful, how it can help the body to heal, and all of its other benefits, of course. And before I ask you to kind of share that stuff, can you share me a little bit about your background? What got you into this? You have quite an impressive story. I heard some of it in Los Angeles when I attended your session.
Yeah, so at one point, I think for the majority of my life, I've been a serial entrepreneur. So I've just been infatuated with, business and just kind of creating. And then at one point, once I got into my teens and early 20s, the Hollywood lifestyle and entertainment industry really just grabbed me. So I was like a celebrity jeweler. I had a confectionery company, a custom suit company, a marketing company, a magazine company. I'm not sure if I said that. And that's what I loved. And I had my spiritual awakening in 2011. And that's when the universe really kind of shook me and woke me up. And in conjunction with my mother going through severe depression, which she was never really a depressed person at all. And I was on my spiritual journey and becoming really, really curious, about all these, just healing and conspiracies and, energy and, all that stuff that wakes people up. And I started this journey. And on this journey, I just discovered so many healing modalities. And I discovered ayahuasca. Me and my mother went to the jungles of ayahuasca. And I had I developed this stomach condition that lasted almost 5 years. And the problem was the doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong with me, which was so frustrating. It was this strange sensation, not like a pain, but just like a torturous sensation in my stomach where I actually thought I had parasites. Because I went to India, I went to Thailand, and you hear all the stories. And then as soon as I came back, my stomach was hurting. So I was like 100% convinced that I had it. So I did this robust parasite cleanse for like 2 years. You weren't even supposed to be on it that long. And all the doctors, they were giving me colonoscopies, endoscopies. I was swallowing pill cameras. Nobody could tell me what was wrong with me. It got so bad to the point where I was actually wishing that they'd come in and say, Kurtis, you have this type of cancer. Like, just think about how bad you have to be suffering.
Wow. To
go into the doctors and hoping that they can diagnose you with something. So I was just treating myself like I had cancer, but I didn't. And I went to my first breath work. So I actually had a Taoist tummy massager. I think it's called CNT. And when she was giving me the tummy massage, she was saying, you need to be reborn. And I'm over here thinking it's like some spiritual thing. And she was talking about rebirthing breath work. And she knew somebody that taught it. And once I went to my first class, I had this 90-pound lady. She was very, very petite next to me. And this NFL dude, I think he played for the Rams, 6'5", big jack dude. 5 minutes into breath work, she starts just busting out in tears. So I'm thinking like something's wrong with her, or she broke up with her boyfriend. I don't know. And I don't know, maybe like 15 minutes later, the NFL dude starts busting out in tears. And I'm like, what is wrong with these people? Why are they all? And before I could even like think the rest of the thought, I started busting out in tears. So I'm sitting here like, how did this happen? Mind you, I did ayahuasca, combo, DMT. On my journey, I became Reiki certified, level 1, 2, 3, Reiki master, hypnotherapist, life coach. I mean, I was collecting these certifications because I just wanted to learn so much and I really wanted to heal myself. So I soon found out after leaving there that the reason, when I got home the next day, actually I didn't realize it until the next morning, my stomach pain went away. And I'm like flabbergasted, like how the heck did this happen? And then it just hit me. The reason why the doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong with me is because my condition wasn't physical. It was energetic. It was emotional. And that was the game changer where I really started focusing on more energetic work than just physical. Mind you, I was doing 21-day juice fast. I was, doing all these crazy cleanses and supplements, and I was eating very, very good. Dr. Sebi diets, no inflammation. I was doing all that stuff, but I wasn't having a solid energy practice. And I was still doing yoga and stuff like that in Bikram, but it just wasn't hitting like breathwork did. That was the game changer, Neil. That's what changed everything. And once I knew what it did for me after all the things that I've experienced, I'm like everyone else, like it changes my life. Now I got to go share this with the world.
Incredible. So in one session, you had that result.
Yeah. See, that's what I love. Like working with people, things take time. It takes time to heal. It takes time to manifest things, to grow things, everything takes time. I love shortcuts. I just love shortcuts. I don't like waiting for things. I'm very impatient and I want to see results. Like, we're from the Los Angeles mindset, right? So, we want to see those results and we want to see those results fast, right?
Yeah.
And we also live in a microwave society. So when I discovered breathwork, it's like, dude, the results are immediate and undeniable. And those are the things that I focused on sharing with people, is to get people to where they want to go as fast and most efficient as possible. So I kind of coupled all my modalities, like I said, the hypnotherapy, the NLP, the breathwork. So when someone comes to one of my, sessions or events, they're getting all of that in one. And most of the time they don't know because I don't promote it that way, but it's a very multifaceted event of what's transpiring during this one, 90-minute session.
Incredible. Yeah. And I've experienced your session and really wonderful. I love the way you curate it and lead the whole thing and how you hold the container. So can you explain to the audience what breathwork is? It's clearly very, very powerful. So what is it?
It's the most hardest thing to explain because of how powerful it's, right? But trying to explain what this experience is like trying to describe a kaleidoscope to a blind person. Like it's virtually impossible. It can't be explained. It can only be experienced. With that said, it is a very specific form of breathing. It's a 3-part breathing. It's done in through the mouth, out through the mouth. No nose breathing, which the 99.99% of the time you should be breathing in through your nose because that activates your parasympathetic, your rest and digest. Your mouth is your sympathetic, which is kind of your fight or flight. But the reason why we breathe through the mouth, and the only reason you should ever breathe through the mouth, is when you want to release. You want to release energy, the mouth should be open. If you want to contain energy, you want your mouth shut. Some people tape their mouth shut when they go to sleep so they don't go into sympathetic and they get better sleep. And then people like Floyd Mayweather, right? Why was he so good? Is because his stamina was immaculate. You look at Floyd Mayweather in the 10th, 11th rounds, his mouth is always shut and he's breathing in and out through his nose, because when you breathe in through the nose and the mouth shut, you're closing that circuit. So you're containing the energy, you're looping it. Now the people who he's whipping their butt, what are they doing? They're trying to, they're trying to catch their breath, but really they're expelling. They're expelling all their energy that they need to fight that fight. So, but the reason why we breathe through the mouth is not just for releasing, but if you ever notice, if you scare the crap out of somebody, what's the first thing they do? They go,
breathe. Yeah.
They do two things, right? They go, they breathe in through the mouth, right? That trauma literally gets trapped in the sympathetic nervous system, which is activated through the mouth, right? And they hold their breath. They go, right? People hold their breath. So we get stuff trapped inside of us. So when we breathe through the mouth in that 3-part breath in the breathwork detox, you're clearing out all the junk that got stuck in your nervous system, which is wreaking havoc on your body.
Interesting. I love that. I love that you've talked about trapped emotions as well, because this is a big part of my work. Have you heard the slogan, "The organs weep the tears the eyes never shed"?
No, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And like, I'm sure you know as well as I do that almost every illness can now be traced back to trapped emotions and or trauma.
Yeah.
Trauma can be in all kinds of varying degrees. And that I have found with breath work, it to be very, very powerful at releasing this energy. My body shakes like crazy once I've gone through the breathing pattern. And
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing. If you ever watch a gazelle or a zebra escape a lion in the wild, the first thing they do, if they're lucky to get away, is they go, they shake the trauma off of them. So when people do breath work, they're shaking, they're literally getting that stuff off of them. And in relation to that quote, I love what Woody Harrelson said. He said, "I don't get mad, I grow a tumor."
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. So powerful.
It is. And like when we don't verbally express ourselves and get those toxins out of our body, out of our energy field, it accumulates inside of us. And that's the root cause of a lot of these diseases, illness, and conditions. And I know they did a study by this gentleman named Dr. Suzuki, and he was a zoologist. He had his PhD, and he was a head of the genetics department in British Columbia. And he did a study, and he took guinea pigs, and he said the condensed molecules from the verbal expression of anger, jealousy, or rage just for 1 hour accumulated had enough toxins to kill 80 guinea pigs.
Whoa.
Yeah. So like I always tell people, I relate to Steve Jobs. I'm like, Steve Jobs had all the money in the world. He had the best minds around him, the access to the best medical, and there's people hailing of cancer out there, with all this stuff. And I say, listen, but it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how many green juices you drink. If you are holding onto the toxic energies of guilt, shame, regret, or anger, it's a death wish. And that's why, sorry, I'll just say this. And that's why it's not just one thing that can heal. It will heal you. It's not the energy work. It's not the physical stuff you put in your body. It's not affirmations. It's a mixture of chemically, emotionally, and physically. You have to work on your nervous system physically, whether that's, exercising or working out or chiropractor. I love chiropractor. There's a lot of misconceptions about it. And emotionally, that's the work that we do. And then you also do physically, people's vitality and getting down inflammation and, not eating mucus-filled diets and all this stuff. Healing is a trifecta. You really need to be conscious of all those things, because one of those things throws off other things, because totally everything's connected to everything else.
Yeah, it's the true holistic approach, isn't it? I talk about physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I call them the pillars of vitality. So yeah, I almost verbatim, I say the same thing. You could be vegetable juicing all day, every day, and have no inflammatory food. But if you've not dealt with the emotional level, for one, that could be one to really consider, and one that many people miss completely. I use something called the emotion code, and using applied kinesiology, we can actually find out the names of emotions and release them with, because they're electromagnetic, you can actually release them with magnets. There's all sorts of ways of releasing these emotions. And by the way, that doesn't require any kind of talk therapy, which can take years and years and years and can make things worse. And, when we release things somatically or energetically, it gets right to the core, and it can be instantaneous, can't it? And there's many ways to release emotions and trauma, and breath work is obviously one of those very, very powerful ways to do it.
Yeah, even a simple one that many overlook is journaling.
Yeah.
Simply journaling, and getting that stuff. Because when you start to journal, you reach a certain point where you kind of enter into flow state. And if you get into that flow state, that's a really good space to be in, because that's when you have the subconscious and the conscious mind connected. And then that's when stuff kind of, it's like almost like automatic writing, and you begin to process. I believe that, journaling is just another way to get things out, because like I tell people, whatever emotions you have in you that's trapped, better out than in. And like that is the whole basis of the Breathwork Detox Masterclass and the program that I have. It's simple. We all want to manifest stuff, right? We all read The Secret and Think and Grow Rich, and we know the law of attraction is real, and we all want to manifest. And my whole first book, the first bestseller I wrote, was on manifesting and the laws of the universe. And what did I realize? The big reason why people self-sabotage their manifestations isn't because they don't know how to manifest. We all know how to manifest. You don't have to learn it. You're doing it every single day. It's that two things are happening. One, you're focusing on the wrong things, the things that you don't want, right? And Socrates said the secret of change is to focus all of your energy on building the new, not on fighting the old. And the other thing is that people's cups are full. It's full with all these past heartbreaks and past failures and, insecures and doubts and emotional baggage from their ex or their ex partner, business partner, or spouse, or whatever it is. We hold on to all this excess baggage. And sometimes the weight we need to lose isn't on our body. It's emotional. And so many people are carrying around this stuff. It's like, it's not the weight of the baggage, it's how you carry it. And as entrepreneurs, even like us and, other high achievers and even mothers who have to be super strong, they learn to carry that stuff so well, and they forget that it's even there. So what that does is it blocks your manifestations. And once you get that stuff out of you, right, your manifestations are already, they're going to come automatically. You don't have to do much. When a plane's trying to take off, when that plane's trying to take off, if there's something on the runway, you're not going to get clearance. You're not going to be able to take off. Or if you're trying to land somewhere in life, if there's something on that runway needs to be cleared before you can land or you can take off. So all people need to do is empty their cup, right? And it's going to fill itself up, because what you already want is already in the vortex, kind of like Abraham Hicks you talked about. It's already there. You just have to match the vibration. And if you're holding on to this junk, there's no way you're going to match that vibration. But as soon as you get rid of it, it's like, boom, you're in alignment and all amazing stuff happens. This is why healing's so important in manifesting.
I love everything you just said. I couldn't agree more. I see, you've probably heard of power versus force with David Hawkins and the scale of consciousness with the different emotions and different frequencies. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of I'm not sure of that particular work, but I'm familiar with the concept.
So different emotions carry different frequencies. And at the bottom end of the scale, you got emotions, ones you mentioned earlier, like guilt and regret and resentment and hate and anger. And at the top end, you have high vibration emotions like love and care and appreciation and gratitude. And above that is enlightenment. But it's ultimately, we have this scale of frequencies with different emotions. And the higher up we are on the chart, the easier it is to manifest. So what you're saying about the importance of releasing the trauma, I think this is like the missing link in manifestation. And it's just like what you said. If we're carrying around all this emotional baggage, I see it like this trauma, these emotions, they bring the frequency down, because they have they all carry with them a frequency. So we end up lowering all of our frequency by not releasing these emotions. And what most of us don't realize is it's much easier than we think it is to get rid of it all. And we don't have to go and do years of talk therapy and go and relive traumas from the past. We can release it energetically. And that's why I love breathwork so much, and other forms of somatic release.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of our trauma and things that we release, they don't have to be brought to consciousness. They don't have to. Now, some things do. And those things that do, I personally believe are, lessons that we needed to learn. And I'm not talking about something, I'm talking about just one thought. As soon as you get that thought, that's enough to release and let it go. Because the reason why we hold on to stuff is because subconsciously we believe we deserve it. The only reason why we hold on to stuff. And when something, and in breath work, a lot of things kind of come up, and there's so much of it that not everything comes to consciousness, but the important things, the things that your soul wants you to know this, those are the things that come to consciousness, and you feel it. But I always say you have to feel it to heal it, right? So those big things, when they come up, it's like you feel it, you recognize it, you acknowledge it, you get the lesson, and it goes. And that can all happen in a matter of 3 Mississippi. That's how quick healing can be. It's the 20 years we're dragging that stuff around with us, that is like, and it all comes down to consciousness, awareness, and, raising your vibration allows you to hit the states of consciousness to unlock those healings and clearings. If not, let go or get dragged.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. Couldn't agree more. There was an Abraham Hicks thing I wanted to just mention, but I think you've covered it. When we don't release this trauma, we end up creating more of what we don't want, because it's like that vibration stays within us. So when we release it, and then like you were saying earlier, and if we focus on what we do want, when that vibration of the trauma is gone, it's much easier to manifest deliberately. Breath work. Can you talk us through? I seem to remember on the session when I did the live session with you, you mentioning how we release DMT in the lungs. Can you talk us through that? What kind of experiences do people have? I mean, I can talk about my own experiences, but can you just speak to the experiences people have?
Yeah, so it's like one of the coolest things of breathwork. A couple of things happen. One of them is transient hypofrontality. Flow state happens right around the 8 to 12 minute mark, where the resistance gets so high in breathwork, where you're either going to step back into safety and comfort, or you're going to push through that discomfort. And that's when you break through into this quantum field where you enter flow state and all the answers are available to you. So that's the beauty of it. The other beauty of breathwork is what you mentioned, which is dimethyltryptamine. DMT is produced in the pineal gland. It's the chemical responsible for launching us in another dimension when we go to bed at night and we sleep and we feel it's real until we wake up in this reality. And it's also produced in the lungs. It's actually produced more in the lungs than it is in the pineal gland. So when you start this active breathing, you just initiate this release of DMT. And it's not like too much where it's like ayahuasca or like LSD, where you take that, you take those mushrooms, you're on that ride for a good 3 or 4 hours, you're not getting off that ride till it's done. So you're
ride, yeah.
you're not in charge. With breathwork, you're in charge, and just enough gets secreted where people just experience this natural bliss. They feel these, amazing emotions and this connectivity that they never felt, unconditional love, and like just connected to the floor, the ground, the earth, the people breathing next to them, closer to their family, whatever it may be. And that is when you're entering those trance states. And the DMT, it's like a trifecta of all these things happening at once. And I usually tell people, there's 2 things that could happen when you start to really, activate this breathing and the DMT starts to secrete. And that is, 1, you're going to have this natural, euphoric, blissful high. And 2, you're going to trip balls. And I've had people like literally travel to other like dimensions and planets and, have conversations with past loved ones that gave them information. I'm like, that's when the weird stuff starts to happen, where your brain can't comprehend of like, how is breathing doing all of this stuff? And this is where it's like we can't explain it. You just have to experience it. It's like I'm doing my best right now with you to articulate how magical this stuff is, and I'm probably not even doing it justice.
Yeah, I agree. It's so hard to explain what you get from it, and everyone is different, aren't they? Everyone has a different reaction, and I can speak from my own personal experience. I've had like close to this kind of DMT experience where I've had like visions, but one of the first ones I saw was an angel, and it was actually after I'd done all the breathing, and we were guided back into the room, and which is quite different to the first time I did it, because I started to have visions on the actual breathing itself. But after I got the T-Rex arms and my everything's kind of frozen up and tingling all over my face. What's the word for that? T-Rex? It's obviously not T-Rex. What's the?
Yeah, it's called tetany.
Tetany, thank you. So it's quite a weird sensation, because you're one often gets these kind of claw hands, and it's just, well, I don't really know what causes it. It's the ultimate oxygenation of every single cell, and it could be trapped trauma, can't it, as well, that creates it. Let me just ask you that question quickly. What is it that creates tetany?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, no one knows.
It's actually, there's a few different things. That's why sometimes if someone has poor blood circulation, they'll get tetany a lot faster. Sometimes if they have a calcium magnesium deficiency, we notice that. Also, what I notice when people are pushing out the exhale, so like we do the 3-part breath, 2 breaths in, right? And when they go, and they're really just kind of pushing out that CO2, sometimes that causes that imbalance. And then also it's kind of like a shock to your nadis, which is the energetic highways in your system. And if you haven't been doing deep breathing, which 95% of people aren't doing deep diaphragmatic breathing, they're doing paradoxical breathing, which is actually the opposite. And I was super guilty of that. If they're not breathing correctly and you start breathing like this and you start blasting open these energy channels, they're like, whoa, 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 slow down, slow down. And this kind of happens because I realized the more breath work you do, the less that you have the lobster claws.
Yeah, T-Rex arms.
Yeah, the T-Rex arms, the gang signs, the lobster claws. We did all types of
gang signs. I love that. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird sensation when you first have it, but when we push through it, that's when we kind of have these incredible experiences. And I love that you just you talked about the DMT. It's incredible. Some people get crazy downloads and they just get total clarity with what they need at the time. I tend to find I shake, and like I mentioned earlier, quite a bit. My legs shake, and sometimes my body, like when I did it on Sunday, my whole upper body was kind of bouncing up and down. And the facilitators were saying, if you want to the other people in the group, it was all on Zoom, and they said, if you want to have an orgasm like Neil, breathe through it. Don't stop breathing.
Well, that's funny because that's actually what that is. It's not trauma. There's a difference between, if I'm watching somebody breathe, I can tell if they're trying to get trauma out of the body, or in your case, it's Kundalini energy, right? Trying to move itself through your system so it can flow through you, because that ultimately is the path to enlightenment. When that Kundalini at the spine rises through, but it has a long way to go and like blockages to get through. And because I do this too, when the body starts making these like really kind of like just, I don't know, these weird movements. It's not like the shaking ones. It's like you're talking about. That's it. It's like that mother, the queen. She's the queen of the nervous system, the Kundalini, and the Kundalini is sexual energy, which is God energy, because creation energy, the sacral chakra right behind the belly button, right? Creative energy is sexual energy. It's synonymous, right? That's how we create, is with sexual energy. And we also create businesses and stuff like that with sexual energy. It's the same exact energy. This is a lot of entrepreneurs in their younger age, up to, their 40s, they'll misuse that energy. They go out and chase women and do all this stuff because it's in them, But once you, like they say, once you get to your 40s, you stop to misuse that energy. And that's why most men become more successful in those later years, because they've learned to cultivate that creation energy. But yeah, it's orgasmic energy going through you. So I love that she said that.
Yeah. And you just reminded me of the book Think and Grow Rich, when he talks about transmuting that sexual energy into work, which is why, as you say, lots of guys flourish in their 40s. Yeah, so Kundalini, pretty powerful stuff. And I get a similar reaction when I do ayahuasca, but it's like 4 hours. And if anyone saw my body when I'm doing ayahuasca, my entire body is bouncing up and down, but it's like a waveform. And it's like Mother Ayahuasca kind of breathes me in a very different way, a very different rhythm. Sometimes like she holds all of my air out, and then other times it's all the way in. And then other times it's like literally staged and she breathes me. But that's ayahuasca, that's not breath work, but it's just very similar, because I've had not to the same degree, of course, but I've had very similar experiences between breathwork and ayahuasca with that energy, both shaking and the kundalinis. I like that you just said that's kundalini, because I've thought that's kundalini as well. But it's different. There's the legs, but then it
feels good though, right?
Oh, it feels incredible.
Yeah, it feels good to move like that.
Yeah, amazing. So I wanted to touch on something that's by the way, is there anything else you'd like to say about breathwork just now?
The one thing I'll say about breathwork for people who, are on the spiritual path and, maybe they've been meditating for, X amount of years, or maybe they just started. And what I'll say is like, there's a saying that goes, everybody, I think it's a Zen saying, that everybody in life should meditate for at least 15 minutes a day, unless they're too busy. Then make it an hour.
Yeah.
Because the people who are the most busy need it the most. And that's why I love breathwork, because it's meant for overactive minds. It's meant for the people always on the go. It's meant for the people who don't thrive in meditation. Because I personally believe meditation is an advanced practice. Because if you try to get somebody who's stressed out to sit down, sit still, and don't think a thought for the next 20 minutes, they're going to go more crazy and they're going to get more stressed out. But you can get anyone who's stressed out, who can't meditate, and you have them lay down and you do this breathwork detox, you're going to have an experience that would probably take you 5 years to do if you were meditating. Now, I'm not knocking meditation, because I believe breathwork is like cleaning your car with a power washer, and meditation is like cleaning it with the fine tooth, toothbrush. Breathwork is the work, but meditation is the maintenance. And once you clear all the junk out that you've been holding on to, it's going to be so much easier to meditate. It's going to be more blissful. It's just overall going to be so much better experience when you do the breath work first, and then you go into a meditation practice.
That's such a great point you just made. I was going to ask you what the difference is between meditation and breath work, and they have it. So what did you say? Breathwork is the work, meditation is the maintenance. I love that. I've been meditating for years now, and I find that I'm in a much better meditative state after doing breathwork. So even Wim Hof breathing, which I tend to do every morning, just for like 11 minutes or 15 minutes, that enables me to release all the clutter, all the chatter, the monkey mind, and really come into my body. And that alone helps with meditation. But I love what you just said about breath work being the work. And you can't really be in your head when you're doing breath work, can you?
It's very difficult, I mean, I will say that within the first 8 minutes of breath work, you get in your head, but you're not necessarily in your head as you would be like in meditation. It's because once you start the breath work, you start pushing. So like in meditation, it's like you're sitting still, in this ocean of thoughts, and you're trying to calm the ocean and turn it into this lake or this pond with no ripples. That's the goal. But with breath work, you're in this ocean and you're pushing the thoughts out. Instead of waiting for them to settle, you're pushing them out. You're actually physically doing something that pushes them out. So when you're doing that, within those first 8 minutes, everything that's going on behind the screen of your awareness begins to come to the surface. So you get a little bit of that monkey mind in the beginning, but then as soon as you push past that, that's when like you're completely open. You're in that quantum field. You're in the flow state. So yeah, so it's like it's like almost the opposite of meditation.
Love it. I thought you were about to say it's almost the opposite of what I just said about being in your head. No, I totally agree. For the first 8 minutes or so, as you said, you can totally be in your head. I'm often thinking, why aren't I getting what I want to be getting? And like, shut up, be quiet.
Yeah,
yeah. How does this compare with holotropic breathwork, like Stanislav Grof?
I mean, everyone is a little bit different, like holotropic. Some breathing is a lot faster and a lot longer, right? That would distinguish that. And then you have Wim Hof who does breath holds, right? And then you have, so everyone has their shamanic breath work, uses the drumming and stuff like that. So everyone has their own kind of distinct, characteristics of breath work, and they all have their pros and their cons. And always, people ask me, well, what's the difference between breathwork detox? Why should I do yours and not Wim Hof? And I don't get into it because then I have to like go and like every single one of them. I say, try them all.
Yeah, right.
Try them all and see which one you like. I know why I developed this one is because I wanted to develop the fastest and most effective way to clear the junk out of you so you can begin manifesting what you want and become in alignment. That's the purpose. Now, it's different than Wim Hof. So I'll tell you why I love, and I won't say hate because that's like totally not true, like the Wim Hof for different reasons. Personally, I like to do the Wim Hof when, but as far as like the breath holds, when I do the breath holds with a stomach vacuum. So I'll never just do a breath hold. I'll do a stomach vacuum and I'll pull my belly button to my spine. And that really helps with the digestive tract because my issues have always been in the stomach. So I want to strengthen that area because for 5 years, it took a beating. So I'm still, healing that power center because it's your power center. Now, what I don't like doing, Wim Hof is when I'm trying to have a breakthrough because, when you're counting breaths, when you have to count, you're in your head. You're using your conscious mind. You want to get out of your conscious mind. And then also, and then when you have to like, oh, do I hold now? Do I not hold now? You know what I mean? So I use them from like, I'll use the breathwork detox when I'm looking to clear things out and manifest. I'll, when I need to have better digestion and I'll use the Wim Hof and then, I'll use the bow and the arch. So I'll use other people's modalities. It's not like I use my own modality and that's it and nothing else exists. No, a lot of these people were the pioneers that been, Stan's been doing this for what, 30, 40 years and stuff like that. So I just took all the best parts to all of them and put them in this one to get the greatest benefits possible.
Incredible. Love what you're doing, Kurtis. So cool. I've got to ask a question, which is going to seem a little bit out there, literally. I've noticed on Instagram, your handle is Man from the Stars, and also you have these dates for your breathwork sessions around astrological dates. What's all this about? What's your relationship with the stars?
We come from the stars. They did studies that were actually like 86% stardust, the same stuff that's made from the stars we're made of. So that's one. And then also I believe, expansion of consciousness. Most people don't know US history, never mind world history. Forget about galactic history. People still think Christopher Columbus discovered America. It's like, come on, the guy had a map that was already drawn out. And when he got there, people were already there. So it's like, this is the stuff they taught us. So I just became infatuated with deep esoteric knowledge and just truth, just like you. Like we have this deep, insatiable knowledge for seeking truth. And so I became infatuated with the stars and stuff like that. And then if you look at the moon, the reason why I do the breath works around the moon is just to enhance it. So for instance, like a full moon, there's been studies by the Federal Reserve that the moon cycles affect trading. It affects Wall Street. It affects the economy. And there was this gentleman who was who was a trader for like 28 years, and the traders would have moon signs on their chart.
Wow.
So, I mean, and even females, right? Females who have their menstrual cycle, a lot of them is in the cycle in the moon. That's why they call periods moon cycles, right? There's a reason why they call it that. And on top of that, the moon pulls and pushes on the tides. So it's magnetic, okay? And you talked about magnets earlier, right? So there we go. So it affects our emotions. That's why people act a little kooky around the full moons, because magnetically it's pulling us the same way as it pulls the tides, because humans are made up of 76% water. So, and new moons are really good for new beginnings, clean slates, full moons is really good for manifesting. And if people just think it's like woo woo, I get it, you know, because you hear like the horoscopes and like, but I will refer to famous Chase Bank billionaire JP Morgan when he was asked, what's this woo woo stuff, you know, about astrology and crystals and stuff like that. And he said, listen, and I quote, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do.
Wow.
So yeah, if you look right around like it's interesting because right around the astrological configuration of the elections this year, there was something going on. I forget the name of it. I don't want to misquote it, but the last time it occurred was 12 years ago, whenever the George Bush, Al Gore presidency was. So you'll notice if you really study this stuff that certain astrological configurations cause for confusion, whether it's Mercury retrograde or whatever it is. So, you know, the people who come to my events, they don't need to know this. All they need to know is that I'm strategically doing everything in my power to set them up for not just for success, but to have the greatest release possible with the modalities that I'm mingling in there and doing it on the specific dates. You know, I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for them. So this is the reason why people come to my breathworks and they're like, oh my God, I did breathwork before, but it wasn't like this. And, you know, so it's just like, I'm just obsessed, you know, with finding new ways to make it more powerful, even if it's like 1%, but isn't every entrepreneur wired that way to find ways to make it better? This is what we do.
Love it. Thank you so much for explaining all of this stuff. It's really incredible what we can do with breath, with oxygen. And what you're doing is just such a wonderful, wonderful healing modality. And I love I've not really heard that side of things where, well, you discuss it anyway, about releasing all the emotions so then we can become much better manifestors. I think that's incredible. And I love that you're doing that. So thank you for sharing this, and thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, man. I'll just I'll end with this if you don't mind. 5 years ago, I read a study that said by the year 2020, anxiety and depression would be the #1 disability worldwide. And today, Neil, that has fully prophesized and manifested. And this was pre-COVID. So there's a reason why I doubled, tripled down on breathwork, is because people need this tool more than ever. And a lot of people are escaping to drugs. And I don't think that anyone is actually addicted to drugs. I think they're escaping reality. You know, they're addicted to escaping reality. So, you know, everyone's suffering everybody is suffering from some form of SAD, which I give it the acronym of stress, anxiety, and depression. And breath work is the reboot, man. And you have to kill those monsters before they're small, because stress accumulated turns to anxiety. Anxiety unchecked and accumulated turns to panic attacks. And that's been my story that we didn't get into. And this is a tool. You know what I mean? Try it with Neil, try it with me, try it with Wim Hof. I don't care who you try it with, but this is going to be one of the most powerful tools in your toolbox to cope with everything that's happening in the world. And I thank you, Neil, for having me on and sharing this with the audience. And I appreciate you and all that you do, brother. Seriously.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yeah. What statistics about anxiety you just mentioned, and particularly now, what greater gift to do this, to get around those things. What was your acronym? SAD, stress, anxiety, depression. Yeah. It's there's a lot of that right now. So thank you for this work. I always ask my interviewees what your #1 vitality secret would be. I mean, I can probably guess it, but what would be your #1 vitality secret?
#1 vitality secret. Okay.
I purposefully didn't pre-warn you.
You didn't. You know, I mean, my brain wants to just go to breathwork all the time. It's like, you know, the secret sauce for me. But just one, Neil. I don't know if I could do that, man, because look at just this right here, man. This is, if you're hydrated, like actually hydrated, because how many people aren't hydrated? Yeah, right. It's like, I think like 90% of people are underhydrated and they're not putting the right water. If you just put the right water allows for electricity to go through you. So that really will get you, you know, vitalized. You know, the breath work, without going into it, it cleans out your nadis, which are your energetic highways, which a lot of other modalities don't do that. And it's the fastest and most effective way to do that. And that is our hard wiring for the energy, the vitality that flows through our body, because we have blood in our body, and everybody knows that. But how does blood get distributed? Through the veins. We know that as well. We have energy, chi, prana, vitality in our body. Well, how does that get distributed throughout the body? It gets distributed by the nadis. Okay, the nadis, we have 72,000 nadis that run through our bodies, and you can look at the Vedic text and see all these channels. And breathwork is the one and only thing that clears out these nadis and energy channels. And there's one place in the body that all these energetic highways intersect. It's like the Times Square of your body, and that is the gut. So there's your answer, Neil. Work on your gut, because that's not your second brain. That's your first brain, right? And if you can clear out your energy, your nadis, and clean your gut, you are going to have a hell of a lot of energy and vitality.
Love it. What a brilliant answer. Thank you so much, Kurtis.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Really appreciate having you on the show. Thank you so much. And this will be circulated to our audiences very soon.